Oh, he's calling me right now. Hold on.
RTF.
That really shows what happened.
If you came to prove, there's no reason to prove.
RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk.
All right, appreciate it all being there.
And now you
Hey,
got
Mike, you get
yourself
my
something
mic?
funky.
Hold on,
RTF
man.
Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk.
And welcome to RTF Sports Talk. I'm your host, Maka Buckheister, fresh off an amazing MGK concert last night. Just throw that out there. Matthew Lyle, how you doing today?
Aside from you starting the show off talking about utter trash, I mean, we're good.
Hey, you better get used to it, son. And Billy Hatton, how you doing today?
Yeah, you're thinking about the guy from UTEP, huh?
Right.
I'm doing all right, running off a few hours of sleep, but I feel energized.
Hey, it's always a great day to start to talk sports, and it definitely wakes you up. So before we get in too far into it, Billy, where can people find your podcast at?
Any major podcasting site, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spreaker, Spotify, anywhere. Make sure you give me a rating, subscribe to the podcast. That'd be appreciated.
And the name of the podcast is Unpopular Opinion, correct?
Unpopular opinions, for sure.
All right. So speaking of unpopular opinions, as most Thursdays from here on out go, we're going to go with some pick'ems. We'll start it out. So we'll start with tonight's game. We'll have Ravens versus Cincinnati Bengals. Matthew, we'll go ahead and start with you. Who do you got on this one?
Well, I'm a little baffled. These are teams that they're just so hard to judge because they're going to be middle of the road, and you got to be lucky and try to pick which middle of the road games they win. But Baltimore looked nice week one, and they put up over 40 points. They both played struggling teams. Cincinnati, they appeared to struggle a little more with Indianapolis. But if that's going to carry over into week two, if Flacco's going to have a solid game, if that defense is going to show up, if those playmakers are going to be able to make the same play, I have to go with Baltimore here. Now, Mixon really shocked me the way he came out. I'm glad he did. I had him on my fantasy team. If A.J. Green can get loose in the backfield, I mean, or in the secondary, it's going to be a good game. But and if you are talking betting numbers, I don't think Cincinnati's won a Thursday night game, and I think Baltimore is like 4-1 on Thursday night games. So I'm going to go with Baltimore on this one. Before I start with my pick, I'm going to applaud the NFL here. They did do a pretty good job. Now they're starting to schedule division opponents to make these games a little bit more interesting because Thursday night games was, well, we know. But I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. To me, I just do not trust Joe Flacco. I can't put my trust in that. They did play the Buffalo Bills, who's probably literally the worst team in the NFL the way it looked this season. So I don't know how much stock I'm going to be able to put in the Baltimore Ravens. So just, I guess I'm splitting hairs here because neither team is great. I'm not a big fan of Andy Dalton in the crew either, but they're playing at home. So on a short week with 3 days of rest and a travel day for Baltimore, or 2 days of rest and a travel day, I'm going to go with the team that's relaxing at home right now. They got a good night's sleep in their own beds. I'm going with Cincinnati. See, I think this lends itself to the old adage, which do you trust more, a crook or a thief? Exactly. Do you trust Andy Dalton or Joe Flacco? I got my doubts on both. Do you say, hey, Buffalo had the better defense, but Buffalo has a god-awful offense with Nate Peterman at quarterback. Indianapolis has a better offense, but that defense might be the worst in the league. So, we're probably both just drawing out a hat right now, and I'm not going to be shocked if either of us are right or either of us are wrong. Yeah, so, we're probably both going to be wrong because it's probably going to be a tie watch. and knowing the way that division works and these Thursday night games go, it's not even going to be a fun tie like 48-48. It's going to be 3-3, 6-6.
Yeah, it's going to be terrible.
And I want to go have to go with the Ravens on this one, just judging by how they looked on week 1, and historically, like I just want to say this just from a safety standpoint, I hate Thursday night games. Like the NFL preaches safety, but yet we are wanting these guys to turn around in 2 days more or less and play a game and make it competitive. Like historically in the past, these games have been blowouts. But I think it's going to be the Ravens tonight.
Can I be a villain here for a second? And this has nothing to do with the actual game pick, but just your statement led me to this. Look, I care about these guys as individuals. That's the human nature in me. You care about other humans. But when that comes to my football, dude, when their helmets are on and they got those tinted visors, I want to be your glutton American. Let me just sit back and stuff my face with football. Right. Give me Monday night football. Give me Tuesday night football. Give me Wednesday night football. Give me Thursday night football. Give me Friday night football. Give me Saturday night. Give me all the football that I can take. Because people are going to gripe, oh, Thursday night's so boring. The NFL's weak. College ain't what it used to be. This hitting. They're going to gripe. But those same people are the first people you hear when April and May rolls around. Man, I sure miss football. Right. You have to understand, football has what seems like to be the world's longest offseason. And the NFL does a great job of shoving drafts and combines and free agency and camps down our throat. Let me get my glutton through the season, man. Yes, it might be horrible football. It might not be safe. It might not even be very entertaining, but I need it because I need to store my football food for the summer, I guess would be the better adage here. But yes, it's not safe for them to be playing Monday and then turn around and play Thursday. It's not safe for them to be on steroids. It's not safe to be hitting in the head. But man, the football mind in me wants it.
I'm right there. You know what? I'm with both of y'all on that. It's just for me, the NFL seems hypocritical when they preach safety and then yet they want you to play on 3 days rest instead of actually getting rest. But I'm also like Matthew. I said on Unpopular Opinion show yesterday that didn't get posted because for some reason the freaking file deleted. It doesn't matter if 3-year-olds is out there playing football. If they tell us NFL is out there, guess what? We're going to be watching it because, that's the American in us. Football, we love football. So, yeah, I'm right there with both of you guys. But NFL, we already know how that is. It's almost like college football. Or the NCAA, I should say. NFL is like the NCAA, where neither really cares about the people that they have out there, just the bottom line. So that's to be expected.
Yeah, and
can we just call it what it is, Billy? You compared the NCAA to NFL, and they get to hide because they give us a great show, they give us a great product, and we just eat it up like candy. NFL's a business. NCAA is a business. Most businesses don't even care about their employees at large. They don't care about their customers at large. They just care about that bottom line. And if you can meet a perfect, stars align, and your employees are happy, your customers happy, and you make money, that's great. That's what the great ones do. I hear a lot of good things come from like Apple products and so forth like that. I know you're not a fan of Apple, Billy, but for the most part, people who work for Apple say they love it. People who have Apple products say they love it, and Apple makes a boatload of money. It's funny because I actually have every brand like that for everything. But there you go. For every brand like that, you got a brand like the NCAA where the customers are happy and the product's making good money. But man, you're using employees on that one.
Well, and speaking of NCAA, let's jump into some pretty big games this week. Like the first game that really jumps out on the page this week is the LSU Auburn game. This game is at Auburn. So Billy, we'll start with you on on this one. If you had to pick them, who do you got?
I think this is where the luck for LSU runs out. I think the buck stops here. They played good against Miami. Although I know being an ACC guy, Miami isn't who everybody thought they were to begin the season. But I think it stops here because Auburn is better than Miami, and I don't think they're going to let that happen. I like Stenham. That defense is nasty for Auburn. You know, last year they was holding opponents under 18 points. This year it's even better. So you know, I think I'm rolling with the Tigers of Auburn on this one. I think, you know, and I'm not a believer in Ed Orgeron. You know, he's a decent coach. Their quarterback is still young. He really hasn't, outside the Miami game, really played any meaningful games. And even in the Miami game, he didn't really play all that great. You know, I thought the defense was the reason why they played good against Miami. So I got Auburn for the win on this one.
So let me paint you a picture of what the SEC is when it's good at football. It's very typecast. When you think of the top SEC teams, everything comes to mind. Big, beefy linemen, tall, fast receivers, big, butch running backs. You know, your Trey Masons, your I'm drawing blank now. All the dudes that Bama rolls out, Marcus Lattimore,
Harry,
all those
guys.
Yeah, big, quick receivers, Doral, everybody that comes to LSU, Bama, Ridley, AJ Green, Julio Jones. Defense flying around, smacking everything. So let me just pretend for a second that because LSU and Auburn both look pretty nice. Let me just pretend for a second that everything fits that mold. Both teams got big, nice receivers, big, bulking running backs, huge linemen, fast, hard-hitting defense, quick coverage corners. What you said is the difference maker for me. The quarterback for Auburn. LSU would probably have as many rings or close to as Bama if with all that talent, if Les Miles could have ever got an actual decent quarterback. Same things here it is. Once again, LSU just inserts some random number at quarterback. He'll probably play just a couple games before they make a switch. I don't even know who he is, but I do know Auburn's got a nice, solid quarterback. He's getting a lot of buzz for the draft next year. I think he has a really solid season. I think that gets it done in this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, I could, you know, I'm like you. I don't even know the quarterback name, whoever he is. I just know he's not ready for this game. You know, and Stenham is you know, even last year, you know, he started creating that buzz for himself, and it didn't stop. You know, it hasn't stopped this season. So, you know, for that reason, I think quarterback play will definitely be the reason why Auburn wins this game.
And Billy, I definitely have to echo what you're saying on that. Like, the quarterback play is going to be huge for Auburn, and also those fans are going to be lit. I mean, it's a Saturday night primetime game. There's just something about a SEC night game that just the home crowd always is just crazy, and I don't think the young LSU team is going to be able to handle that home field advantage for Auburn very, very, very well for very long. So the game might get ugly quick.
Can I just dream for a second? Because I know we're not going to talk about my favorite team on this, and there's no reason to. They play Murray State. But when I look at Kentucky, the two things that I wish we had was more depth at running back behind Benny Snell and a solid quarterback. If we could recruit in-state, we could have Damian Harris from Bama, who plays at Bama. He's from Kentucky. We could have him and Benny Snell in the backfield. And Stidham, was that how you said it, Billy?
Stidham.
Stidham. He's from Corbin, Kentucky. He's from Kentucky, went to Baylor, didn't work out, transferred to the SEC. But if we could have just kept them to in-state, I mean, maybe we could be talking what could be with that. But it you know, as you talking about it made me think, you know, it made me think of Mike first because I knew he went to the Big 12, and it's crazy how the Big 12 has a better offense running system, but when he goes to SEC, he gets more hype.
Down there with Stoops, man. Down there with Stoops, you know Stoops is a defensive guy. He was defensive coordinator at Florida State. That's all he knows. So, you know, that's probably why these guys got away. He ain't investing that much time in the offense.
Well, one conversation I have too, this probably goes to a lot of schools like K-State. You better hope Florida State doesn't get in this mess that we find ourselves in. At Kentucky, it's easy to recruit starters. It's hard to recruit good guys to come sit on the bench. Because if you're going to sit, if your options are start at Kentucky, start at Kansas State, or sit on the bench at Bama, you're going to pick the other two. But if your options are sit on the bench at Bama or sit on the bench at Kentucky, you're just going to go to Bama.
Well, I definitely agree, especially with the way Taggart got this thing going. You know, we brung out the backpack, whatever that was. Whoever thought of that idea please don't do it ever again. You know, and if we go up to Syracuse this week, it should be really bad for the recruiting trail. So, hey, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I understand that totally.
All right, well, Mike, we had to put our own little flavor on the show, but we'll let you get back to your pick 'em because we're not going to talk Florida State or Kentucky in any of these picks.
Well, because Florida State's trash.
Definitely not. They're definitely trash, Mike. So, yeah, please, let's not do that.
And we'll definitely be covering Kentucky on Big Blue Breakdown tonight with that huge win of Florida last week. So tune in tonight for Big Blue Breakdown. But moving on, Urban Meyer has been coaching all week for Ohio State, but he will not be able to coach at the game. So I'm kind of confused about that 3-game suspension. You're able to coach, but you can't coach in a game. But regardless, one of the biggest games I feel for Ohio State this year is the TCU game. This game is at a neutral site, but it is in Arlington, Texas, which is about, I think, 45 minutes from TCU campus. So next pick'em is Ohio State versus TCU. Matthew, who do you got?
I got to go Ohio State. I know when we talked when the suspensions first came out, we said this might be the game that trips them up. But there are 3 teams that look just downright scary. Alabama, especially that Nick Saban defense with those weapons with an actual quarterback. Fromm and Georgia look mean, and Ohio State. Now I know they haven't played anybody, but you can see records. You can see some nice things even in a 70-point blowout against Oregon State. Well, they put up 77. They just look good, and TCU's look decent, but the gap between decent and good is huge. And even if it is in Arlington, it's going to be it's indoors, right, Mike? So you got indoor, you got perfect weather, you got an offense. Their starting quarterback's great. Their backup quarterback's potentially even better. I think Ohio State, they're trying to figure everything out with Urban Meyer not being able to coach on game days. I think that leads to some mistakes. But I think Ohio State's probably going to put 50 or 60 up on them. TCU might put up 30 or 40, but it's tough to keep up with what I've seen from Ohio State and another school, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, both of you guys actually took both of my points. I'm right there with you, Mike, to start off with your original point. It's kind of odd that, he gets a 3-game suspension, but he's been able to coach since week 2. Putting in the game plan since week 2. So what did the suspension really do if you only really got to not coach for 1 game? And to Matthew's point, the gap, the margin between what's really good and what's awesome. Dwayne Haskins is, listen, he's my front runner for the Heisman, and I think this game right here can get ugly really quick for TCU, even though it's a home game. I feel that Ohio State right now, outside of Bama, is the best team in the NCAA right now. So I think this game gets ugly really quick for TCU. Hopefully they can keep it within 21 to 30 points.
And I'm gonna have to echo both of what you're both saying. Ohio State is definitely a very dominant team. As much as I hate to say that, and it irritates me that Urban Meyer got this 3-game suspension, but can still coach. That makes zero sense to me at all. But this is going to show you that this game here is going to show you that the Big Ten they're like a tier 1 and a tier 2 in the Big Ten. Ohio State is the tier 1 team, and then the Big 12 is separated into 3 tiers just as well. And TCU is probably one of those tier 3 teams. Like, honestly, even though they're ranked 16th, I just don't see them having a lot of depth in their team. And after that second quarter, once the subs start playing, it's going to get ugly fast, like Ohio State all day long. So,
I mean, we've seen this movie from out of TCU before. When you think about it, every year, TCU for like the last, I would say, 7-8 years, maybe a little bit longer. Everybody, TCU kind of came onto the scene. And every year, TCU is right there. They got the scouts and stuff. Thinking that they could probably do something special, and then boom, they'll lose. And I think they're really going to meet their match this upcoming weekend because Ohio State is for real. And neither one of us even mentioned Mike Weber, the running back, that he can get loose at any moment. So listen, yeah, I think this is going to get real ugly for TCU.
Matthew, anything to add to that? Are you?
Only thing I want to add is just a good point that Billy made me think of. I'm so hard on the Big 12, but one thing that makes the Big 12 fun that SEC and Ohio and the Big 10 and even the Pac-12 at times don't have is that the Big 12 is just a big cycle. Remember when Baylor was competing for championship? People say Baylor should have been in the playoffs. Now they're dirt bottom. TCU comes and goes. Oklahoma's been pretty consistent. Texas is down. Every once in a while, West Virginia will slither in there and pop up. And then you even have teams like Iowa State have something. I think you have two outliers. You have Kansas, or you have Oklahoma always been at the top, and then you have Kansas being at the bottom. But in between, everyone else gets their time to shine. And you could say that's good or bad for the league. It makes it fun to watch for me. Because when you think SEC, you think Florida, LSU, Bama. When you think Big 10, Ohio State, Michigan. When you think Pac-12, USC, UCLA. Not many teams get other chances to shine. And I'm not talking about like, hey, look, they popped up in the rankings. I'm talking the Big 12 will give you different teams that'll show up in the top 5. And then they may never be there again. And I joked on Kansas.
Like a revolving door.
Right. Well, what was it, 2008? Kansas made it up to number 2?
Yeah, that best year they made it to the Orange Bowl, I could believe.
Right. So the SEC doesn't have that. Vanderbilt, Kentucky's never seen that. Iowa had a good season. Indiana in the Big 10 doesn't see that. But everybody in the Big 12, and maybe that's what happens when you rely so much on an offensive conference that anybody has a chance to win. But it's just so interesting. The games are fun to watch, and Baylor's trash today might be good tomorrow. TCU was good yesterday, might be trash today. West Virginia might struggle this year, but be great next year. It is fun, truly fun to watch.
All right, so
most definitely.
So speaking of rankings, I'm going to start doing something every Thursday and kind of giving you guys like a top 5 NFL teams for like that previous week, and I want you guys to either agree or disagree on them. So from judging from week 1, just like last week, I have Vikings at number 5, Jaguars at number 4, the Kansas City Chiefs at number 3, LA Rams at 2, and roll out to number 1 are the Patriots. Do you guys agree with that top 5 teams there, or disagree? And if you disagree, how would you rearrange them, or who would you take out / add? So Billy, we'll go ahead and start with you on this one.
I'm gonna agree with you 80%, and I'm with you on the Patriots. I'm with you on the Rams. I can give you Casey. The offense didn't seem to take that much of a dip, and I'm going to give you the Vikings, obviously, because I picked the Vikings to be that division winner, so I have no choice. But where we part ways is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, from a guy who's from Florida, Tallahassee, about an hour and a half away from Jacksonville, I've seen this movie before with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, they have a few good seasons. They did it with McCardell and Jimmy Smith. They had Fred Taylor. They was doing it up. And then, they wasn't. I think the only thing that keeps Jacksonville relevant right now is their defense. And I don't think that's going to be able to hold because they don't have a good quarterback. They don't really have a good offense for that matter. Outside of Leonard Fournette, he's the only guy that I believe in on that offense. And, we don't even know if he's going to be able to play. And they didn't really look that good against the Giants on Sunday. So I'm going to take out the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm going to insert. Oh my God, Lord have mercy. I'm gonna put the Buccaneers in there for right now.
Are you moving them to number 5 and the Vikings at 4?
Yeah, I'm not, because I'm just not a believer in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not really a believer in the the Buccaneers either. I was going to throw the Packers in there, but I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, so I really can't do that. And that defense is always god awful. So right now we're splitting hairs between week 1, but to me, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars shouldn't be in there.
Let me pretend for just a second that I'm an alien, that I've landed from another country, and I'm here, or another country, I should say, another planet. and I'm sorry, I landed from another planet, Mars, Jupiter, whatever, and here I am. And then I watched the first week. My top 5, and I'm just proving a point here. My top 5 would include the Rams, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Ravens. But
the Jets?
I'm not. Hear me out. But I'm not. I've been here. I've watched football for almost 20 years, and I know what's going on here. So I agree. The reason I put the Patriots, just like everything in life, you need credit to get through on life. Can't buy a house, you can't live life, can't buy a car without credit. Same goes for NFL. The reason I have the Patriots number 1 and not the Rams is because the Patriots have done it for the last 20 years. They got good credit, A1. I got the Rams number 2. I do got the Chiefs number 3. They look really good. I even got the Vikings number 4. But my number 5, the reason it's not Jacksonville is because, unlike the Patriots, they have bad credit. Yes, they made a payment on time last year, but they have been delinquent in quite some time. And that's why my number 5 team is the Philadelphia Eagles. They struggled. I even had them in the top 2 this time last week. They struggled, but they do have the credit of winning the Super Bowl. And I will not forget that, even if it was against a really good Patriots team and a really great, entertaining, and offensive performance. I'm not going to let a bad offensive performance outweigh what I saw last year with that. So that credit's going to carry over. So I agree with you, like Billy said, I agree with you 80%. Like, I'm all the way up there until I get to that number 5 team. And then I move Vikings up to number 4, and my number 5 team is the Eagles right now.
So
yeah, you know what, Matthew? I actually thought about the Eagles as well. My bad, Mike, before you get in there. I actually thought about the Eagles as well. To me, though, I just didn't know what I'm going to get out of them this year. Could we see the same thing that we saw from them last year? And I'm just not sure. I'm not even sure with the Buccaneers. I just thought, you go put up 48 on the Saints and you outduel Drew Brees. It's an overreaction. So I'm just going to put you in there for right now, just because I'm just not a believer in the Jazz could do what they did last year. I don't think that's sustainable.
Okay.
Well, and that's why I took them out. Like I said, they haven't earned the credit of me. Exactly.
All right. So we basically have 2 different point of views here. We have Billy Hatton's with "What have you done for me right now," and you have Matthew Lyles of "What have you done for me in the past." Let me start with Billy. Billy, yeah, the Buccaneers did look great. Ryan Fitzpatrick did set records and all that stuff. I think he had 427 yards. That was his career passing yards. But do you think he can repeat that week 2?
I honestly think he can. I mean, we've seen Fitzpatrick play good games. We've seen him play bad games. And, on any given Sunday, Tom Brady can go out there and throw 4 interceptions, and then come back the next game and play good. So, and they are playing against the Eagles. The Eagles defense is going to be tough next week for them, but they are playing at home, and they are juiced. And Fitzpatrick does have, confidence going forward, being that Jameis Winston is not going to be back at least for another game or so. And, who knows?
I believe he comes back
come out
week
and play
4.
good. Yeah, Fitz don't have to look over his shoulder right now. He could just go out there and play. And like I said, the game is in Tampa. So I mean, it's possible, but it's also possible that he can go out and throw 5 picks this week.
So the real question arises: do you think the Buccaneers are better with Fitzpatrick at quarterback or with Jameis at quarterback?
I think the Buccaneers are better with Jameis. The only problem is Jameis' availability. Will he be there to do something stupid, and get himself suspended again? So Jameis Winston is clearly the better quarterback, obviously. But, I think they have a better shot right now with Fitz because you don't know where Jameis' head is going to be at.
Well, my thought on that is, what are you looking for in the season? Ryan Fitzpatrick will give you 8-8. He will do no good. He will do no better. He will do no worse. He'll just give you a solid 8-8. Jameis Winston can give you 12-4. He can also give you 4-12. That's the thing. And from what I've seen of Winston, nobody's really been able to rein him in. Like, as far as I know, he gets on there and which I can't stand to hear him talk, it's just because he seems like somebody, he seems like the world's worst car salesman. He's just overly happy about everything when he shouldn't be. From my understanding, Jameis Winston just kind of done what he wanted. There's no coach that he looks and says, he might have had it a little bit with Jimbo Fisher at Florida State, but he sure doesn't have that now in Tampa. He just kind of does what he wants, on the field and off the field. And that's kind of a problem, because if you can get him to act right, he's going to win you 12, 13 games. But if he's not in it, if he's over there being a kid, if he's over there, and I'm all for having fun. Like, I have no problem with the fun Odell has, but he performs on the field. But Jameis Winston also can lose you 12 games.
Odell performs until the game's big.
But it's tough. As a quarterback, when you're supposed to be the face of a franchise and the star, the number one jersey sale, and all this, I need some more security than an 8-game swing.
I'm right there with you, Matthew. I think he, I think it comes down to a lot of these guys. They've been the best player everywhere they've been. They used to get everything they want. People always look to turn the other cheek whenever, that's just Jameis, or insert, superstar here. And, I think they become accustomed to that. And, and I think Jameis is definitely a product of that. He's never really been told anything. And even at Florida State, him and Jimbo Fisher had this relationship where they were so close that Jimbo really didn't do anything, outside of coaching him on the field. So, I think that's where it comes to. I'm right there with you, though. He can win you 12 games a year, or 13 games. He can be that good because he has that kind of talent. But you never know where his head is at. You never know if he's fully in it, and that's unfortunate, really, for the Buccaneers and Jameis Winston, because I think it's a waste.
Absolutely. We're kind of up against time here, but I want to address Matthew Lyle's Eagles pick here. Like I said before we kind of got into it, Billy is what have you done for me now, and Matthew is historically. So Matthew, Nick Foles had a historic season for himself last year. Do you really think he can continue that and keep the Eagles on as a top 5 team before Carson comes back?
I don't think he can. Nick Foles is the guy that threw you 7 touchdowns in one game and then missed the next, and it was a borderline retirement 2 seasons later. I don't think he himself can. But I like Doug Peterson as a coach. I like those weapons they have on offense, and I like that defense. I think it's going to be enough to ride through until Wentz gets there. And then I think Wentz is really good, and I think that team knows how to win. It's in the case, but it's only these 2 teams that I have that let me look at the bigger picture. And it's not really as much a thing on the Eagles as it is a diss on Jacksonville, because I don't trust Bortles.
Right.
I've seen a lot of cornerbacks. I'm not saying they're there yet, but I've seen a lot of defense. We've seen defenses, the teams that are solely defensive reliant, go from first to mid-level in the span of a season. And the same flips to the top. It's not just that the Patriots have been good for 20 years. Truly, on paper, and if I was to just watch one game, the Rams are the best team in the league right now.
They did look pretty solid.
The way they fizzled out in the playoffs last year, is Goff going to be able to continue that growth? McVay's 32 years old. He is a decade younger than Tom Brady. Is these things going to come to fruition? Very easily could. This could be the year that the baton gets swapped, that the Patriots fizzle out, that Tom Brady hits the wall. It could be. And this could also be the year that the Rams say, hey, I'm here. This is us. Jacksonville, right with them. Hey, Blake Bortles is a good game manager, and this defense is amazing. This could be that year. This could be Rams, Jacksonville in the Super Bowl. But I've heard both those things about numerous teams. This is Team A and Team B's year, and Tom Brady's done. And what ends up happening when February rolls around is Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against another team that isn't one of those 2 teams that we talked about. So this could be the year it happens. It's kind of like when the weather people say, or the Auburn, the old people say that it's going to be a bad winter, and it never is. But occasionally, when you do have that bad winter, they're like, "I told you." No, you've just been saying that for 20 years, and we finally got a bad winter. That's what I say. That's what I think this is. Everybody just says, "Oh, this is the Patriots' time. They're done. Count them off." And look at Team A and Team B. They're going to be great. This could be that year, but I've not seen it. And I think the Rams are a great overall team. I think that Jacksonville has a great defense. But we've seen this before. We saw this story. We've seen this next prodigy. And guess what? It isn't. The top three quarterbacks, the three quarterbacks that looked the best this last week. Matt Ryan did not look good. Stafford did not look good. Derek Carr did not look good. The second tier, the new age quarterbacks that's supposed to come in, they're letting me down. Who's giving me the same old hit? Who's giving me the classics? Who's giving me Freebird? It's still Tom Brady. It's still Aaron Rodgers. It's still Drew Brees. So they better hope that Goff and Wentz is the answer, because right now your primetime performers are almost they're playing their encore song. They're almost about to exit stage left. So I hope these guys step up, but I just don't have faith because I've seen every other guy step up even when you said he wasn't. And I think the Eagles' defense is going to – I think the Eagles are going to be that team again. That's why my top five is what it is.
Unpopular opinion right here. I do not think Wentz is going to be a good quarterback. To your first question, Mike, I think Foles could be that guy. You know, it's a toss-up. It really is. You know, he can be that guy, looking like a Hall of Famer one game, and then he'd be like, "Where the hell is Foles?" You know, I don't. Where is he? You know, but you know, I like to Matthew's point. I like Doug Peterson. You know, I think he's a great offensive mind. I think he knows how to put things together. You know, that defense is pretty good, you know, led up front by Fletcher Cox and, you know, on the back end with Malcolm Jenkins. They are tough, you know. So I can understand why Matthew put him there because, you know, it's not a bad goal to put the defending champions who started out with a W. They did lose, so, you know, I understand that pick. To me, Foles is a hit or miss. Can he get it done? Sure. But he also, you know, can't get it done. It just depends on which Foles show up for you. Which Foles are you going to get? Or which Carson Wentz are you going to get? You're going to get year one Carson Wentz or you're going to get year two Carson Wentz? Especially being that he hasn't played any football in a long time. So it's possible. Who knows?
All right, guys. We are definitely up against the time here. Be sure to go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube channel. Be sure to get with Billy's Unpopular Opinion podcast. I believe he uploads every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Is that correct?
That is correct. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
All right. So go ahead and be sure to search for that on Google Podcasts, iTunes, Apple Music. Give it a follow. Give it a ranking. It better be 5 stars. But until next time, we'll see you guys Sunday morning, 9:45 on the East Coast. Have a nice day.